Hi, welcome to Pillow Talk.
That's a good one.
Hey, no.
Hey.
Hi, guys. I have this thing where I don't like to say hey or hi, guys,
Hey guys.
because I feel like everybody says that. But then I don't know what to say, like when the time comes. Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. There you go. Welcome back, guys. We had a 1 week hiatus. I didn't really feel like recording just because of everything that was going on, like you get caught up in all of the emotions and whatnot. And all I want to say is this: I feel like I better understand the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, big time.
I think two things that were key for me to understand was a black person telling us that they didn't have the choice to come here. We as Hispanics, our families chose to come here. And they came here forcefully and to build this country up. And that resonated. So that was huge. And then I saw one documentary, one movie that I want to recommend. The first one is called The 13th. It's a Netflix documentary. And it really opens up your eyes about the justice system and just minorities in prisons and whatnot. You need to watch it. And then the other one's the movie we watched the other day.
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy. And again, eye-opening to see that this is a generational thing. This didn't just happen last night, a week ago. This didn't start with the killing of George Floyd. Like, this has been ongoing for years since America has been built. So I definitely feel a lot more empathy. And I'm glad that I've done my part to try to understand, what was happening. So I hope you do the same. So anyways, guys, we're excited to be back. We've received a lot of really nice comments. And thank you for that. Thank you for opening up about listening to us. We hope that today's episode will not disappoint, but we hope that it helps, obviously. There was a point in our relationship where Carol almost left me. Dun, dun, dun. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, so let's talk about when you're checked out of your marriage.
Whew, that's a tough subject to talk about.
Because, so quarantine is going to bring out so much. It's going to shine light to all these marriages that have been checked out.
What was that meme that you said you saw?
Oh, I saw a meme that said, check on your married friends. I haven't seen any posts about, I'm so blessed to have you, you're the love of my life type of post.
That's horrible.
Which is funny, but kind of true. But I want to say that I didn't start enjoying my marriage until we were 5 years married.
Man, and we're almost 8 years married now.
And I know that is dang, that's a long time. And it is for,
I think the first year was good.
Is I.
Wow.
Well, think about what our first episode was.
Oh, well, honeymoon,
about?
Right? It set the pace for...
our first year, right off the bat, we came back from our honeymoon, and then
I got laid off.
Yeah, you got laid off.
Or fired, whatever you want to call it.
And then we were down to our whole vision of what we were going to do with 2 incomes came down to 1. I was working. It was just, it just set the pace. And
you're right.
And then right off the bat, the anger, what we kind of talked about in our second episode, we were trying to balance that on top of not having income too much, So I quickly found myself very disappointed in my marriage.
Yeah.
Because of the idea that I had built before. And then what do? You have
married.
Kids.
Well, we had a kid.
We had a kid. We had Annabelle, but...
Which, by the way, I don't regret having Annabelle when we did, but I feel like many people probably think that a child is going to come and fix things.
It doesn't.
And we didn't plan having Annabelle because we were trying to fix our relationship. We both wanted a child, but I think the timing of it, it could have waited until we were in a better place.
Of course. But because you have your good days, you have your bad days, and we plan to have her on a good day.
Yeah.
And obviously we don't regret having her at the time we did. Of course not. But having a child just shines more light on your situation and where you stand as a marriage. So although we love our daughter, and she was and she brought so much joy to us. And it kind of like plateaued a little bit, what our situation just kind of like died down a little bit because we focused on our baby. We really enjoyed her, and
but we remember at that time, like, I had a crazy schedule. I would go into like 11 in the morning, and I wouldn't get off till 8 p.m. and then there was no connection anymore.
So that's how you kind of start. How do you get checked out?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just don't spend time with each other.
Yeah.
We found ourselves like, he'd get home super late. I was already ready for bed at 8 or 9 o'clock. He'd come home ready for dinner, and I went to work all day, come home and just, want to go to sleep. So, and then I think you worked Saturday too.
Yes, I would work Tuesday through Saturday.
So, the only day we would see each other is Sunday, kinda. And then we went to church, and then we came. Yeah, so it was, we weren't spending that time with each other, that
quality time
we should. And it just snowballed unconsciously. Because we would feel it every time we would start arguing, like it would escalate, or we would argue about the same thing, and whatever.
And money was a big argument that we had a lot.
Money was a big argument.
Money was a really hard situation for us to adapt to. Carol has always been very independent in the sense that you've been working since you were 16.
I had a part-time,
She had a part-time job. She had her own car. Very independent. And then she's coming into this marriage, and one of the things, if you're watching and you're not married, one of the things that you definitely want to take into consideration is that you're taking on her debt, and then she's taking on your debt.
Talk about that.
Yeah, you need to talk about that, seriously. Because I think we maybe touched on it, like, on the surface. I think our pastors probably brought it up in our class that we're, our marriage counseling. But it's something that we probably didn't focus on too much.
Or we thought like,
yeah, exactly. It'll be fine. But no, like it did. It was a big part of our arguments. She wanted to spend money. I wanted to save money. And
you also wanted to spend
money.
money.
Yeah, I did. But I think that was one of the biggest things is like, where's that line, between saving and spending. But anyways.
Yeah, so, I was checked out of our marriage probably close to the start, which is kind of sad, and I think because of the expectation that I had created in my head, what I thought it was going to be, and it was kind of nothing like that. So when we moved in with my parents, Annie was like under a year.
Really? Under a year?
I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. Maybe. I don't remember it correctly.
And then we had Sophia. Ta-da! Then we had Sophia, which, man, we love her. And again, like, we can never say that we regret having Sophia, because we don't. But when we had Sophia is when I said, like, why am I married? We were just not on the same page at all. I found myself just kind of living day by day with my kids
and a roommate
and hey, hi, and whenever we would talk, it would become an argument about the air,
whatever,
like just anything, and you could just feel that tension. And we were in my parents' house, so we're having to pretend like everything's okay. And then the kids would go to sleep, or we'd go, close the door, and then just like not even talk to each other. I was just completely checked out. I remember just like being so frustrated with what my life had become, because you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be enjoying your marriage. And here I am, like maybe year 3 into our marriage, and just feeling like, why did I marry this guy?
Imagine, like, at that time we're youth pastors, right? We're regardless of youth. We're ministers in church. We have a great example from my in-laws, her parents, of what a marriage should be, and yet we couldn't figure it out.
Well, we never. So we never really asked for help.
Right.
Because there was a few moments where I would come to him and say, why don't we go see a counselor? And what would you tell me?
Yeah, go see a counselor if you think that you need the help.
Yeah,
I didn't think that.
He would send me by myself. And what's the point of that? So I think that I tried to put my feelers, like red flags here and there, but maybe because you didn't have like an expectation of marriage, you thought you were you were living a good one?
Well, I thought, okay, so my background, unfortunately, my dad wasn't around, so I didn't know what a marriage should be. And coming into this, yeah, I didn't have any real expectations of what to expect or what my role as a husband should be. I remember one of my biggest fears was being a dad, and I would always tell her, like, I didn't have my dad around, so how am I going to know how to be a dad? And I think this is the same thing. I didn't see a husband in my home, so I myself wasn't really sure what a husband role should be like,
Oh.
And yeah, I think, again, different upbringings. Totally. You have a great example at home. I don't have an example at home, and I think that's going to create, friction. Yeah. But I'll never forget, so I never really realized that we were that bad, though.
Yeah, so that was the situation. I think one of the situations.
Well, yeah, because I would always tell her, like, I love you, and my love is unconditional, and it doesn't change. Like, I love you.
That's not what I wanted to hear, because what I wanted was like attention from him. What I wanted was like one-on-one time. Like, why did we get married? We had such great times when we were like dating or whatever. Well, why don't we go back to that? Well, now we had kids, so obviously when you have kids, you easily get lost with being a parent, right? And that's like one of the dangers.
Especially when you have kids so early in your marriage.
Right, yeah.
Because you're barely trying to figure yourselves out, and now you're throwing a baby into the mix, which requires all of your attention.
Yeah.
And then you're in ministry, and that requires a lot of attention. And you have you're working, that requires a lot of attention. And then it just seems like, oh, well, she can go without the attention because we're sleeping in the same bed. She's getting my attention by me being there, but really she wasn't getting me, or I wasn't getting her.
Yeah, so I tried a few times to say, like, hey, this is how I feel. Like, I'm stuck. I feel completely disconnected from you. I feel checked out of this marriage. Let's ask for help. And yeah, he would send me by myself. One time, actually a few times, I did go see a pastor, and she helped me as much as she could in a marital counseling by myself, and ultimately she's like, we're gonna need to bring Marvin in, and I knew when I asked him, he's like, no, I'm not going. And
I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I thought it was issues that she was having in the way that she perceived things, but I was fine. Like, so why do I need to go?
He was like the perfect husband.
Why?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. But so all of this while we're living in my parents' house, right? So we would have to, like, I'm sure my parents maybe knew what was going on. Maybe they had a feel or whatever, but I don't think so. I don't think they really knew what was going on. But
well, what was the breaking point?
So the breaking point was, like, I remember Sophia must have been like 6 months maybe, and all that week and even the night before, I had made up my mind of saying, you know what, you go your way, I go my way, because as much as
my kids,
as much as I loved him, I didn't really feel that I didn't feel happy, and I didn't feel that love alive anymore. It was just like a routine love. Like, I love you because, hey, I'm married and I have a ring on my finger and we signed a document, and we have kids, so I have to love you, right? But I remember not sleeping one night and just plotting out my whole plan. I thought, well,
she was gonna move to Mexico.
No, I have my parents, I have my mom, I have my dad. They're not gonna kick me out. They're gonna help me. I can find a job. I had a job. Oh no, I was at home with the kids. He was working full time, and so in my head, it's like, I'd rather be by myself and know that I can do it with the help of my parents, the church and everything, than be in a marriage where, for what? Like, we're not connected. So my parents left that morning, thank God. And we were in Sophia's room, and I was done crying. I was done being emotional. I think maybe that.
She was so numb, so cold. Like, I'll never forget that conversation. Like, seriously.
Sometimes you act like you forgot that conversation.
Babe, come
but
on.
I specifically remember coming to him and saying, "I'm done. I don't want to be in this marriage anymore." And yeah, I was even monotone. Like, I don't know, but I remember not showing any emotion because I had made up my mind. And I told him, I didn't get married to be in like a loveless relationship, in a loveless marriage. I didn't get married just to live with a guy. Like, no, like, I got married to be happy. I got married because I love you. I got married to have a family and to enjoy life. And I don't even think you reacted, really.
I didn't know what to make of it. Like, I thought she was just, in a way, maybe bluffing. But then, like, I went to work.
Well, yeah, so that was before I had
that was in the morning.
Yeah, I had to drop you off at work, and I told him, like, and I remember saying, like, I have nothing to lose. Yes, I'm gonna miss you. We'll figure out the kids, but you're the one that's gonna have to leave because this is my parents' home, you know? And I felt so confident in him saying, like, okay, bye, or him saying, well, let's work on it. Like,
Devil's a liar.
I was open to either one, but I was open to the idea of him saying, like, well, this is not for me. So after that conversation, I didn't cry, by the way. I was impressed. I was impressed with myself.
Looking back, yeah.
With myself. And we continued the conversation, and what stands out is, like, I dropped him off, and I said, like, you know, you let me know what you think. And then he said, like, well, what if marriage isn't for me? As I dropped him off, like, what if I don't come home tonight?
Those are the worst things that I could have said right before getting off the car to go to work.
And then I said, well, I think that was it.
I don't think she said anything, actually.
So then he got out of the car, and that was like in the morning. And then I go home.
Where were the kids?
They were with us.
Oh, well, yeah, in the back seat.
And I go home, and then I kind of start, like, is this really happening? You know, 3 years, maybe a little bit more, married, and it didn't work. I can't believe this, right? So I go and I tell my dad. He was in his office, and I remember going in and telling him, Dad, this is what I told Marvin, and this is what he said. And I remember him having that, like, smirk on his face, like he didn't really believe me. And then, or he didn't really realize how bad the situation was, maybe. But I told him, like, I'm done. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I got married for. Like, this is not, you know, and because I felt so frustrated that I had been trying to reach out to him and saying, like, hey, this is how I feel. And he would just, like, shut me down. So I had been disconnected for a while already from our marriage. And that night, he did come home. I had to pick him up. Did I pick you up?
I don't know.
I don't remember. And after you put the kids to sleep, you know, we had a conversation with my parents, you know, where we kind of laid everything out on the table and said, like, what the heck? So, you know, obviously the root of the problem was many, but one of the things that we realized is that, wow, there was no attention given to each other, you know. And when you don't focus on each other, you slip.
And it's so easy to not focus on each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And it's so easy to not focus, and it's so easy for it to become a routine. Especially if you're home with the kids. Like, you're home with the kids, you do this and that, they get home, hey, how are you? Okay, bye. You know, like, you just, like, kind of, like, live your life like a routine. Every day you do the same thing.
And you just put on a smile because you don't want anybody else to know how bad it really is.
You know, and it helped that we had, like, our youth group, you know, and
to distract us.
That's really what it was, you know, and they saw us happy, you know, or sometimes they would see us get at it a few times, you know, but it was a good distraction. You know. So
what changed everything? Because we're obviously still married. We're going on 8 years, and we're much happier than we've ever been, I think.
Yeah. Well, it was a work in progress for sure. I think, number one, making sure that you want to change and being willing to change. Because, you know, everybody says like 50-50 in marriage. Marriage is 50-50. Marriage is like 100-100. You know?
Absolutely.
And it's when you're willing to change, then you see a difference. Because it wasn't until that night that we talked with my parents and I heard you say like, I don't want to lose her. It's like, oh, that's nice. You should, you know, like, here we've been telling you all this time like how I feel, and you just like brush me off. So it was like, oh really? So you actually want to be together, you actually want to be a family, you know? So communication, finances was a big deal for us.
It was a big challenge. Yeah,
big challenge, and we're in a much better place, thank God. But even managing money, you know, we came up with the plan. We had like calendar on our wall because
notifications on our phones, everything,
because that way we were both on the same page. This gets paid this day, this money we're not going to spend it because we have to pay this, you know, like to that extent, because those were the things that were causing like
those were triggers, right?
Yeah, those are the things that were like triggering like the snowball, you know. So, and then spending time alone. Now I know that it's hard for a lot of people that don't have family nearby to spend time alone if you have kids, but making it work if you want it to work, you know. I think that even my parents like offered to watch the kids for a little bit.
No, they did, yeah.
You know, but we would try to get out. I think we started like once a month or every other week. I think we did it frequently at first because we just needed it, you know. And yeah, like when we would go out by ourselves after, it's like you realize why you fell in love with the person, you know. Like you laugh, you talk, maybe
apart from the good looks.
Oh gosh, you know, maybe you'll talk about the kids, but you know, you like connect, you know, you connect. You don't have to do anything crazy, you know, like. But we used to go to Target.
Yeah, that was our spot.
And walk around every aisle and
not even buy anything
and just talk, you know. Like, yeah, we like going to dinner, we like other stuff too, but you know, just being together and talking. And the other thing is the intimacy, because I had just had Sophia, and it was like hard to like jump back, you know, and not that I wanted to physically or emotionally, but that played a big role in our like reconnecting, you can say. So like I said, it's been a long road. And why do I say 5 years? Because that is when we went to Disneyland for our 5th anniversary.
Yeah.
And with Olguita Manuel.
Where you at?
And that was like
it was so much fun,
trip.
Man. Like
we went by ourselves. Yes, we are huge Disney fans. And
thank you, Jen, for watching Annabelle. Was it Jen that watched Annabelle?
Yeah. And Sophia. Anyway, so we went just for like a quick weekend trip, and that is like, I feel like I had already felt we had already been in a better place up until that point, but that was like, man, we made it. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! You know, we made it to 5 years, and I genuinely felt happy being with him, you know. And as we're like at Disney, we had no distractions with the kids. It was just him and I.
It's the happiest place on earth.
And we were truly happy, you know, and I was able to look back and thank God that we pushed forward with our trials, you know, and in our marriage, because I think that weekend that we had that discussion, it could have easily been done with.
Oh yeah, there'd be no show right now.
Yeah, and it would have been for disagreements. It would have been for miscommunication. It would have been because we couldn't manage money right. Things that got fixed. Yeah. You know, and yeah. So at 5 years, like I said, we had already been in a better place up until that, but that was like the point for me where I was like,
the turning point.
Yeah, like okay, like we're gonna be okay, you know. And it hasn't been easy after that, you know. We have our moments even now, like, you know, right now we're into this thing where the kids go to my parents' house on Sundays and then we come home and we just like eat, or we'll watch a movie, and we know that that's just our time.
That's just quiet time.
Yeah, and we know that, all right, tomorrow the kids will be back and it'll be loud again and they'll be all over him, and you know, but we enjoy just being alone.
Yeah.
And it's needed. That's kind of like during the week he goes to work, I stay here with the kids, and we don't see each other as much alone, but we look forward to like these evenings together.
Communication is huge, okay?
Yes.
You can't assume that the other person knows what you want or what you're thinking. We don't know how to read minds. Just the other day I was telling her, I stay out here watching TV once the girls go to bed, and you're in your bed on your iPad. Why don't you come sit out here and be on your iPad? At least we're together in the same, And she's like, well, I didn't know that you wanted that. Yeah, I never told her that.
You seem so happy.
I know,
when I'm
but
like,
I just assumed. Well, I mean, sometimes I am, because like,
we don't like to watch. We don't always like to watch the same things.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I'm very like,
no violence. Only romance. Only comedies.
Not always. I like Black Panther.
Wow, babe.
Anyway, I mean, I can do some, but some of the stuff that he watches is just on another level. So if I know he wants to watch it, then I'll just kind of watch something to go to sleep. But he made that comment like, well, why don't you come out here and watch that with me?
Watch whatever you're watching on your iPad.
But
you're on
be
the
with
couch,
me.
But be
and
with
I was
me.
like, well, I don't know that you want that. Anyway, but another thing about communication is being willing to listen.
Yeah.
When I was putting my feelings out and telling him I would feel this way, he would just like, whatever. Like if maybe he would have taken the time, the first, second time, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time to actually listen, maybe we would have avoided a lot of the bumps. Yeah. But like I said, we learn. I didn't say that before, but we do learn through the process.
Learn your husband or your wife's love language.
Ooh, I think we should do that next time.
Okay.
I do need to update ours.
We'll go ahead and talk about that next time then, because there's 5 love languages. If you don't know them,
and that's crucial.
It is important.
I don't remember. Quality time. Gifts.
Words of affirmation. Service. Acts of service.
Affection.
And physical touch.
And it changes throughout your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It changes in the season that you go with your husband.
Mine has been physical touch the whole time.
One of them.
Just like.
One of them. Okay. Anyway, but we have to. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do that next.
We'll do that because it's been a while. But it's good to know what it is, because sometimes like if yours isn't act of service, but I'm doing all these things for you,
it's gonna mean nothing.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's like, oh, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
But if you buy me, that nice Fossil, Rolex, whatever watch that I want, then it's like, dang, like my baby loves me.
Wow. Anyway, if we can get through it, you can definitely get through it. Communication, prayer. I mean, when I was firstly married. Is that
wow, you were married before me? Am I your second husband?
Well, no. When we first got married, people would say like, pray for your husband, and you're like, yeah, like, all right. No, but legit, like
be specific.
Pray. I mean, like, pray for you.
Oh,
while we're married.
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Because a lot of times we say like, Lord, change him, but the one who needs to change is you. To better your marriage. Yeah. Once God changes you and what you need to deal with and what all that stuff inside, then he changes the other one.
And honestly, I mean, as far as our marriage is concerned, like God was the only one who was able to maintain it together, because he's the one that works with issues in the heart.
That's true.
She could have never healed me with the issues in my heart or anybody else, and until I was ready to turn those issues over to God and say, okay, fine, I want to save my marriage, work in me. Then God is like, all right, finally, you gave me the green light to do what I need to do after so many years. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. Next week, we'll talk about the 5 love languages. And again, keep your comments coming. I know they've reached out to my wife with some really very encouraging
private
comments.
Messages, and I'm so, it's so hard putting ourselves out there because you never really know what you guys are gonna think. But if it's gonna help somebody, a wife, a husband, a marriage, you're not alone. Marriage is not easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
If you give your 100%, and
love you. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Send us those comments, send us those messages. We really like hearing from you guys. And here's to 8 years in December.
Almost. You keep okay. Every year you say like, okay, we're almost 9, but we haven't even been 8 yet.
I know, but that's
we're
what I
like
say.
7.5.
7.5.
Technically.
Here's to 7.5 years and many
Woo!
more. God bless you guys. Talk to you next week.